I never thought I'd be sitting here, typing out the worst thing that's ever happened to me, but here I am. My wife, Lisa, and I had been married for 7 years. We weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. We had plans, routines, a quiet life that I thought was secure. That was until last week during my mother's funeral. It started as a day of mourning, full of somber silence, the smell of lilies and the cold hush of grief hanging thick in the air. My mother was a tough woman, but her passing hit me hard. I was trying to hold it together, standing there with my sister and a few other relatives when I noticed her. Lisa, sitting in the back row, her phone glued to her hand, texting rapidly. Her head was down, eyes flickering with the glow of the screen, completely tuned out of what was happening around her. At first, I thought maybe she was just checking messages, something urgent, maybe from work or about the funeral arrangements. But as the service went on, her behavior got more blatant. She was laughing softly at her phone, biting her lip, her fingers flying across the screen like she was hiding something. I saw her glance up at me once, her eyes narrowing, and then go right back to her phone. Then I saw the text pop up. I didn't mean to look, but my eyes caught it. A message from her boss. It read, "Can't wait to see you tonight, thinking about you all day." The words struck me like a slap. I felt my stomach drop, my palms grow slick. Her face stayed neutral, but I saw her eyes flick up again and her lips pressed into a thin line. That was the moment everything changed. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She was cheating on me right there during my mother's funeral while I was mourning her. My head was pounding, and for a second I couldn't breathe. All I could see was her, texting him, smiling as if I wasn't even there. I clenched my fists so tight I thought my nails would leave marks in my palms. After the service, I confronted her. I grabbed her arm as she was about to leave, my voice tight and trembling. "Who the hell is this?" I demanded, holding up my phone with her message on the screen. She pulled away quickly, her face blanched. "It's nothing," she said, but her voice wavered, revealing the lie. "It's just work stuff, I swear." "Work stuff," I echoed, voice rising. "During my mother's funeral, during the worst day of my life." She shrugged, trying to brush it off. "You're overreacting. It's just a text. Don't make a scene." That's when the red flags started flashing in my mind. I knew she'd been distant lately, days when she'd disappear into her phone, excuses about work, stress, or being busy. But I never thought it would come to this. Not during a funeral, not with my mother dead. I felt like my world was crumbling. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying her face as she texted him, the way she smirked like she had a secret. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I could have been so blind. The truth was, I never wanted to see it. But now I had proof. And the gut-wrenching realization that my wife, the woman I loved and trusted, had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I sat there in the dark, feeling the cold emptiness settle into my chest. I knew this wasn't just about the affair. It was about trust, about respect, and I was furious. I had no idea what to do next, but I knew one thing: this wasn't going to slide, not without a price. And I was already planning my move. Before I knew it, I was digging into her phone, looking for more evidence. I found dozens of messages, texts full of flirtation, promises, and desire. I saw pictures she had sent him, nothing explicit but enough to make my stomach turn. I could feel my jaw tighten with anger. I clenched my fists so hard I thought they would bleed. That's when I decided I wouldn't let her get away with this. I needed a plan, something cold, calculated. And I knew exactly what to do. Because if she thought she could cheat during my mother's funeral and act like I was the one overreacting, she had another thing coming. But I wasn't ready to move just yet. I had to think this through. What revenge would be fitting? How do you make someone pay for this kind of betrayal without destroying yourself in the process? That's what I was trying to figure out in the silence of that night, my mind racing faster than ever before. The next morning, I woke up feeling like a volcano ready to explode. My head was pounding from a lack of sleep, and my stomach was clenched so tight I thought I might throw up. The evidence was there, clear as day, yet I hadn't done anything yet. I was just sitting on the edge of action, trying to think. But every time I closed my eyes, her face popped into my mind, smiling at her phone, oblivious to the hurt she was causing. I didn't want to be that guy driven by rage, but it was hard not to feel like I'd been punched in the gut. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the evidence I'd collected, screenshots of their messages, pictures of her phone. My hands were slick with sweat. I knew I had to do something, but I also knew I needed to be smart. Revenge that's impulsive always blows up in your face. Still, I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. I already felt like I was losing her, losing the life I thought I had. First thing I did was call my best friend Jake. I needed an unbiased opinion, someone I could trust without risking the fallout. Dude, I said, voice thick with emotion, I found out Lisa's been cheating on me, during my mom's funeral no less. There was a long silence on the line. Holy shit, man, are you serious? That's some cold-blooded shit right there. Yeah, I muttered. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to go nuclear, but I also want to make her pay in a way she'll never forget. Jake was quiet for a moment. Look, whatever you decide, you gotta be smart about it. Don't just lash out. Think about what you want the end game to be. Do you want to save the marriage, or do you want to destroy her? I clenched my jaw. Honestly, I want to destroy her. She's betrayed everything, trust, respect, the things I thought mattered most. I want her to feel what it's like to be completely betrayed, made a fool of. Then do it right, Jake said. Don't go off half-cocked. Gather everything. Make her see. She's lost her safety net, her life with you, without even realizing it. Show her you're serious, don't just threaten, follow through. That advice stuck with me. I knew I needed to be cold, calculating. I needed leverage. So I spent the next couple of hours digging through her stuff, her emails, social media, even her bank accounts, looking for anything that could help me make her see she was cornered. I wanted her to understand I wasn't just hurt. I was pissed, and I'd make damn sure she paid. Later that afternoon, I found her diary app. She kept a private journal and I'd never looked at it before. But I figured, what's the worst that could happen? I opened it and there it was, entries about her frustrations, her late-night text sessions, her desire for adventure outside our marriage. She, written about feeling stuck, about needing something more, and how she'd missed the thrill of being wanted. She even confessed to feeling guilty but excited about her secret meetings. Reading that, I felt a cold surge of satisfaction mixed with disgust. The truth was right there. She'd been craving this for months, maybe longer. I knew then I had enough to put my plan into motion. I thought about confronting her directly, but I realized that wouldn't serve my purpose. I needed her to see she had no control anymore. She needed to feel like her world was crumbling. I decided to set a trap. I called her work pretending to be a client, asking for a meeting with her boss. I told them I'd be dropping off some documents. I wanted her to think I didn't suspect anything. Meanwhile, I was making arrangements. I was going to expose her, not immediately, but in a way that would make her see I had her cornered. That night I sat in the dark, waiting for her to come home. My pulse was pounding, every sense on high alert. When she finally walked in, I greeted her with a calm but icy tone. "We need to talk," I said, voice even. She looked surprised, then defensive. "What's wrong? You're acting weird." "I know about the messages," I said, holding up her phone. "The ones from your boss. During my mother's funeral, I saw everything." Her face went pale. "It's not what you think." "Oh, really?" "Because what I see is enough to make me lose what's left of my mind," I shot back. "You thought you could do this behind my back and I wouldn't find out. Do you even care how much you hurt me?" She tried to deny it, but I could see the guilt in her eyes. I knew I had her right where I wanted her. It was time to show her I wasn't going to be the fool she thought I was. This was just the beginning. The look on her face when I confronted her was priceless. Guilt, panic, a flicker of anger. She stammered, trying to come up with excuses, but I wasn't buying any of it. I'd done my homework, gathered my evidence, and I knew her game. "I want the truth," I said, voice cold and steady. "And I don't want to hear any more lies or bullshit about work stress or how it's nothing. Because I saw the messages, Lisa. I saw what you're doing behind my back. And I want to know what's so special about him that you'd risk everything for it." She looked down, tears threatening to spill, her hands trembling. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she whispered. It just got out of control. I didn't mean for it to go this far." "Meaning what? That you planned to cheat on me during my mother's funeral?" I shot back, voice rising. "While I was mourning, are you even human?" Her eyes flashed, angry now, defensiveness replacing guilt. "You don't understand. I was feeling trapped, neglected. I needed someone who made me feel alive again. I thought I could handle it, but clearly I was wrong." I felt my stomach turn. I clenched my fists tightly, my nails digging into my palms. You thought you could cheat on me during the worst day of my life and just brush it off like it's nothing. Do you even care about what you did to me, to us? She shook her head, tears rolling down her cheeks. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. It happened so fast. I swear I never wanted it to come to this. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Sorry doesn't cut it anymore. You crossed a line, Lisa. A huge one, and I don't see how we come back from this. Her shoulders sagged, defeated. Please don't do anything crazy. I'll fix this. I'll stop seeing him. I'll do whatever it takes. That's when I told her I'd had enough. I said I needed space, time to think. But inside, I was already planning something darker, something to make her understand she'd lost her grip on my trust. I didn't want her to just say sorry and think everything would go back to normal. No way. I wanted her to feel the full weight of her betrayal. Over the next few days, I stayed quiet, gathering more information and mapping out my plan. I wanted her to see I was serious. I wasn't just going to kick her out, yell, or storm off. That wouldn't be enough. I was going to make her see that her actions had consequences, and I was the one holding all the cards. One thing I knew for sure: I needed to hit her where it hurt. Not physically, no, I wasn't about to go that route, but emotionally, psychologically. I wanted her to understand she'd become a stranger to me, and if she thought I was just going to accept her cheating and move on, she was dead wrong. So I started by planting little seeds of doubt. I sent her some of her own messages, hidden in anonymous emails, just enough to make her paranoid. I told her I knew she'd been lying about her whereabouts, about who she's been seeing. It was subtle, but it worked. She started to panic, her eyes darting around, searching for signs of my suspicions. Meanwhile, I kept quiet, watching her crack little by little. Every time she checked her phone nervously, I felt a strange rush, like I was finally in control. It was satisfying, even if it made my stomach churn. I knew ultimately I had to do more. I had to make it clear that she was no longer safe, no longer trusted. One night I sat her down again. I told her I had one question: are you willing to lose everything over this? She looked at me, eyes filled with tears. I don't want to lose you. I swear I'll stop. Just give me a chance. I shook my head. Too late for that. You're already gone in my mind. I've got enough to make you regret this for the rest of your life. Her voice cracked. Please, don't do anything crazy. I'll fix it, I promise. But I had already made up my mind. The only thing left was to execute my plan step by step. I needed her to see that her world was collapsing around her, that I was no longer the fool she thought I was. The game was on, and I was about to make sure she'd never forget it. Over the next few days, I silently put my plan into motion. I knew I couldn't just blow everything up right away. That's how people get careless or make mistakes. I had to be patient, calculated. Every move had to be precise, like a chess game I intended to win. I started by setting a trap. I sent her an anonymous email from a burner account, hinting that I knew about her affair. Nothing overt, just enough to make her nervous. I included a few snippets of her own messages, carefully selected, so she'd know I was watching. I didn't want to blow everything all at once, but I needed her to start feeling the pressure. Then I began following her, not obviously, but enough for her to notice. I parked a block from her office during her lunch break just to see if she'd meet him again. She did, of course. I saw her slip into a coffee shop with a man I recognized from her messages. She looked radiant, giggling, touching his arm, completely oblivious to the fact that I was watching, recording everything with my phone. The moment I saw her with him, I felt a strange satisfaction mixed with disgust. I'd never been a vengeful person, but at that moment I'd never hated her more. She'd betrayed me so deeply, so selfishly, during one of the worst days of my life. I clenched my fists so tight I thought my nails would cut into my palms. That night, I went home and set up a secure folder on my computer. I stored all the evidence I'd gathered, photos, videos, screenshots, so I'd have irrefutable proof. I knew I'd need it if I wanted to confront her in a way that left no doubt. The next day, I invited her to dinner. She looked nervous, avoiding my gaze, her hands trembling as she sipped her wine. I sat across from her, cold and composed. I want to be clear, I said. I've seen everything, the messages, the meetings, the photos. I've got enough evidence to make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. Her face drained of color. Please, she begged. Don't do this, I'll stop, I swear I will. I don't trust words anymore, I said flatly. You lied to me every day for months, and during my mother's funeral you were texting him, laughing, joking. How do you even sleep at night? She looked like she was about to cry. I was confused. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I love you, love. I cut her off sharply. You think that's love, cheating on me, sneaking around, disrespecting everything we built. That's not love, that's betrayal, plain and simple. For a moment she said nothing. Then she whispered, what do you want from me? I want you to understand what you've done, I said. And I want you to see that I'm not going to turn the other cheek anymore. I've already started exposing you, and I'll keep going if I have to. You're about to learn what real consequences look like. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. Please don't ruin everything. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. Just give me a second chance. I shook my head slowly. You had your chance, Lisa, and you threw it away. Now I'm giving you one last choice. Come clean, end it with him, or I will, and I promise you, you won't like how this ends. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay, I'll end it, I swear. That was the moment I knew she was lying, but I didn't care. I was already planning my next move. The game was far from over, and I needed her to believe I was serious. I wanted her to see I wasn't bluffing. That's when I told her I had more proof and I was prepared to go public if she didn't cut ties with him immediately. Her eyes widened and I saw the flicker of panic. Good. That's exactly how I wanted her. Fear. Helplessness. That's what I was after. Not just revenge, but making her realize she lost her control, her power, her life with me. That night I slept with the weight of my plan heavy on my chest, knowing I'd pushed her into a corner. The pieces were moving into place. Soon, she'd feel the full impact of her betrayal, and I'd finally have some form of justice. I wasn't naive enough to believe it'd fix everything, but it was a start, and I was ready to see it through. The days that followed were a blur of quiet planning and mounting tension. I kept everything close to the chest, making sure she never suspected how deep I was in. Every time I saw her glance nervously at her phone or caught her in a lie, it fueled my resolve. She thought she was still in control, but I'd already taken the steering wheel. I kept feeding her false hope, pretending to be understanding, even sympathetic. I wanted her to believe I was ready to forgive her, that I was giving her a chance to redeem herself. Meanwhile, I was orchestrating the final move. One evening, I told her I had something important to show her. I'd prepared a folder on my computer, filled with all the evidence, screenshots of her texts, video clips from the spy app I'd installed on her phone, even conversations I'd recorded during her meetings. I wanted her to see everything in one shot. I told her we needed to talk face to face, that I was finally done waiting. She looked nervous but nodded. Okay, I'm ready to listen. I sat her down in the living room, turned my laptop toward her, and hit play. The first clip was from her meeting with her boss, the one I followed her to last week. I kept the volume low so she could see the evidence but not feel like she was being humiliated publicly. But she knew what she was seeing. Her eyes widened, her breath catching. She tried to turn away, but I held her gaze. Look at this, I said, voice low but firm. This is what you've been doing while I was grieving my mother. How does that make you feel? She looked defeated, tears streaming again. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she whispered. I pressed on, showing her a series of texts, flirty, intimate, and full of promises. I played the video clips of her meetings, her laughter, her touch on his arm. I wanted her to see she didn't get to hide anymore. Do you see? I asked. This isn't just some mistake or bad choice. This is betrayal, deep, cruel betrayal, and I'm not going to let you just walk away from it. She sobbed, clutching her face. I'm sorry, she choked out. Please just forgive me. I'll do anything to fix this. I shook my head slowly. You had your chance. I gave you so many. But now I've got what I need to end this once and for all. The plan was set. I'd contacted a lawyer and prepared the paperwork for divorce, quick, clean, no drama. I wanted her to understand I wasn't just angry, I was dead serious. I was about to make her regret ever crossing me. The next morning, I handed her a sealed envelope. This is your final warning, I said. You end things with him today or I do it for you. I don't care what it takes. She looked at me, eyes pleading, voice trembling. I'll end it, I swear. Just don't do anything stupid. That night I went out, made sure she was alone, and left a copy of the evidence on her doorstep. I also sent an anonymous email to her boss, warning him I had everything and I was prepared to go public if he didn't back off. No explicit threats, just enough to make him realize I was serious. When she found the evidence the next morning, her face went pale. She was trembling. I could see her mind racing, trying to deny, trying to control the inevitable. But it was too late for that. I sat her down again, this time with a cold stare. "It's over," I said. "You're done messing around. Either you cut ties with him today or I will. And I promise I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are." She looked at me with wide, hopeless eyes. "Please," she begged again, "don't do this. I'll fix everything, I swear." I reached into my pocket and handed her the divorce papers. "Sign these and don't come back asking for forgiveness, because this is your final choice. End it or I will." She took the papers, trembling, and stared at them like they were her death sentence. I knew this was the last step, her surrender, her complete loss of control. I'd already won the game and she didn't even realize it yet. As she signed the papers, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. That's how revenge works, it's a bitter victory. But I knew this was just the beginning of my new life. One without her, one where I finally regained my dignity. I closed the door behind her, feeling the cold air hit my face. I looked at the signed papers, then at my phone, ready to delete her number and block her forever. No more lies, no more pain, just this simple act of closure. And as I turned away, I realized something. The pain, the betrayal, it stung like hell, but I'd taken control. I'd made her see she couldn't cheat and get away with it. That's the real revenge, standing tall when everything's falling apart. The silence after she left was deafening. I closed the door, leaned against it for a moment, and took a deep breath. For the first time in days, my stomach unclenched. I felt that strange, heavy weight lift, just enough for me to breathe normally again. It wasn't relief exactly, more like a quiet certainty that I had done what needed to be done. I could feel my pulse slow down, the rush of adrenaline settling into something more manageable. I looked at the divorce papers on the table, now signed and sealed. I knew I'd finally put an end to her lies and betrayal, but underneath that, there was a strange emptiness I hadn't expected. It was strange how hollow victory can feel, like you've won the battle but lost part of yourself in the process. I stood there staring at the doorway, the faint sounds of her car pulling away echoing in my mind. I felt only one thing, clarity. I'd always thought I knew what loyalty and trust meant. Turns out, I never really understood their value until they were shattered. Now I saw clearly. Some betrayals cut so deep they leave permanent scars. But I also saw that I was stronger than I thought, capable of surviving what I once believed would destroy me. I picked up my phone and deleted her number. No last-minute calls, no lingering messages, just a clean break. I finally realized that holding on to someone who betrayed you like that only drags you down. The only way to move forward was to let go completely. I walked into the living room, cleared away the evidence I'd gathered, and set it all in a box. It was like burning a chapter of my life, documenting the lies, the betrayal, the pain. I didn't want to carry that weight anymore. It was time to reclaim what was left of me. Sitting down with a cup of coffee, I finally allowed myself to breathe. My hands still trembled slightly, but my mind was clear. I'd done what I thought was impossible. I faced the truth, took control, and made sure she knew she couldn't get away with it. No more secrets, no more lies. Looking back now, I realized that revenge wasn't about hurting her. It was about reclaiming myself. About showing her that her actions had consequences and that I was no longer willing to be a victim of her betrayal. That truth has a strange way of setting you free, even if it's painful in the moment. So here I am, a little wiser, a little more guarded, but finally at peace. I still hurt, sure. Trust takes time to rebuild, and love, well, love's a fragile thing. But I know now that I can survive this, that I can move on without her. And that's the real victory. Because sometimes the greatest revenge isn't about making someone suffer. It's about proving to yourself that you're stronger than the pain they leave behind. And I am.